Hi friends, welcome to tutorials, and in this video you are going to learn how to create CRUD operation or insert, update, delete using Node, Express and MongoDB in the backend, and in the front end we are going to use Angular. So in Angular we will be using this framework in the front end section, and in the backend we will create REST API using NodeJS EXPressJs and MongoDB as a database. I have already created here Node Mongo REST API, and this is Node Express and MongoDB REST API. I have already created this video, so you just follow this video first, and then you will be able to understand this properly. Also, your half of the task will be done. So before we start this project, I recommend you to check this video first, and also here in description you can download this code in case you don't have time to check the complete video. But I strongly recommend you to check how to create Node Express and MongoDB REST API, because this is very important. Once you complete this video, then you come back and let's start this Angular CRUD operation with this Node Mongo and Express. So this complete series will be called a main stack. Okay, so now let's create one project. So right click and then run as administrator, then D drive, cd angular class, then ng new uh, main stack, then it's asking router, yes, press enter. And in the meantime, let's open here Visual Studio Code. So now let's go to file and open folder. So Angular class, and here what's its name, main stack. This is our folder name, right? Okay, before we proceed ahead, let's install here, or just take here bootstrap cdn. Let's take from here, just copy it, and src app, not app actually, index.html. So now let's paste here. So we have just included this bootstrap cdn because it's easier. Now let's go to app, and yes, now we need to create few components here, right? So cd main stack, then nggc. That means we are going to create few components, like add what we should name it, first name, last name, email, and first name, last name, email, and password. There are 4 fields, so we can name it add student. Okay, add student. Okay, and then it will be edit student and list student. And then list student. We have created 3 components here. and then now npm or ngserve ngserve. So here you can see these three folders. Now let's go to its routing folder. Here it is, routing, app routing. Yeah, there is app routing module. So here we need to write uh, let's create one more folder, one more okay, let's leave it. So we will write here add. So we need to write here path, and then if this is home page, so blank, and then component here list component, list student component. So automatically got called here, and then here add student, and in this case we will have component, and now here add student, and path will be, actually it will be path, not add student, path, and then add student. This will be removed from here, add student, and here will be component add student component, this one. And similarly we will have one more, that is edit student. Path will be edit student, so here also edit student. So currently we have all the three components registered in our route component. Now if we go to browser and open here localhost 4200, and yes, one more thing we need to do inside this app component, let's delete everything, and here we will write router outlet. Now let's check here. Okay, so list component works. So as you can see, we have defined here in the routing module that if there is blank, that means if it's home page, then first component that which we will load is list component, and when we write this path add student, in that case add student component will load, and when we edit, and of course here will be id, because we will pass the id as well here, in this case student id. All right, so if you write here add student, in that case as you can see it's add student works, and if we write here edit student /1, in that case this edit student works. That means all our three components are loading perfectly. Let's do one thing, going into app component, let's write here bootstrap. So we will write here div and div, and then here class container, okay, so that it will come in the middle of the screen. So it's coming here class container, and in the top here let's write div and div, and here class container fluid, container fluid, and here we will write a navigation. So let's find here bootstrap nav, okay, There are a lot of navigation, so we may check any one of these. So let's check better this one. Just I'm checking this one. Copy. So this is the navigation section. Yes. So here the tutorial is, this will be home. Here will be add student. Here will be list student, and we don't require this, so let's simply delete this, right? All right, so now we have our primary level thing ready. Okay, so the first thing that we need to create is add student here. So we need to create here form, right? Let's go to add student, and then here HTML, and here div, then you close class call md, no, it will row, and here div class call md12, and then h1. All right, let's keep it to add student, and then let's take another div and class row div. Okay, here we will create the form, right? So first thing that we will create form close, and here we need to create form group equals to add form add student, whatever, add student, and then no validate in class form. That's it. And we need to create this add form here inside its, so here add form for the timing any. Form. Also, let's go to app module.ts here and import uh, forms module from forms, and we need to import this as well here. Apart from that, we will also import here reactive forms module, because we are going to use reactive forms, that is why. And here as well we need to import this. Now you can see the error is gone, and here let's create div and class row div class call md4, call md4 first name, and here input type equals to text, name equals to form control name, not name actually, form control name equals to first name. Please note, in this video I'm not going to use form validation because I have already video related to form validation. So to save the time, I'm not going to use here form validation, but just simply a form here. We can do one thing, div class call md2. So total will be 12 column. Now let's check how does it look like. Okay, so this is text center. Okay, so it's now center. This is first name and then this is text. We can provide here class as well. Class form control. Right? So this is our first name. So let's just copy from here. First name, last name, email, password, and submit button. First name, last name, and here email type will be email, here will be password type will be password, and then first name, there is a mistake. So it's first name. Okay, so let's do one thing, just copy and paste it below. Okay, let's remove this. We will have only 1, 2 to 4, and this will be 8. And here we will have submit button, and then button type submit, and here click will be on submit. That means we will create this form, this function here. Now the error is gone. And also add student. You can put here class name, class btn success. So let's see now how does it look like. Yes, first name, last name, email, password. So these are the fields we are going to use. One more thing, let's open here the command prompt and let's start the server. So which server? We have D drive node express API. So this is our server. So here D drive cd, then node server.js. So this is our backend. Okay, so it's successfully connected. If you want to open this, then localhost and port number is 8080, right? 8080. Okay, and our endpoint is, I'd like to check here endpoint in server.js, that what's our endpoint. So our endpoint is student routes. This is actually endpoint, right? So right here endpoint. All right, so you can see already there is one record added here in this. Okay, so whatever we will be adding, so what are the fields? First name, last name, email, password. There are 4 fields. Okay, so we will be adding here first name, last name, email, password. Let's go to style.css, and here row dot row margin top 5 px, so that there will be some spacing here, right? Now let's go to, let's close it now for the timing. Now we need to come here, and then here we will write the code for, so inside the constructor we will call forms group. So let's write here private form builder form, or fb. You can write here fb form builder, this one. Automatically it's called on the top. And also apart from form builder we will call here routes, so it will be router module router. It also got called from the top. And forms group we will call here also. Okay, and service file that we need to create. So let's create one file. Let's do one thing. This is our server file, and let's go here, close it, and then ng that means ng generate service students. So we are going to create one service file. As you know, the service file is the connector between Angular components and REST API. Okay, so if you check here now, once again let's start this ng-serve, and here service file, where it is generated. This is the service file which is generated now. So in this service file we will create here one function called add student, and then here we need to call http, then http client, we need to import here at the top http client, and this is the one of these strings. So here will be return http dot, this http dot, what's happening here? http dot post, and then here actually this should have been this dot http, and here will be student, and then any, here will be the path. Which path? This one. That, so endpoint is student, this one. So let's copy it and paste here, and then comma and then this student. Why there is zero? HTTP. What's wrong with this? Any? What? Declare any? Okay, private. Okay. Now let's get back here once again. So we will call that service. So student private student service. So student service. This service automatically got called on the top. So now we have our background ready. So now we will write here the function. This dot one more thing. In the constructor inside this, we will create here form group. We'll write here this dot add student equals to fb dot group, and then here we will create the form group, curly braces, and here will be first name, then square bracket here, initial value will be blank, and then validators dot required. That means this will be required. Validators automatically got called on the top. Same way, first name, last name, email, password. Last name, email, and password. Once again, I'm repeating here. I am not putting here validations. This is very simple validation actually. I have already video related to that. If you check my channel, sorry, tutorial base and playlist. If you go to my Angular, then you can see form validation. How to do form validation is there. Okay, you can check here. Active forms. Okay, so you can check from here. All right. Now, so we were doing this add student form. Now, let's first check here. Console.log this dot add form dot value. So what is the result? But before that, we have written here first name, last name, email. So same name we need to change here as well in form control. So we'll write first underscore name, last underscore name, email is fine, and this is the password, so will be password. Rest of the things are fine, right? So add student, add student. What happened? Add student. There is something wrong. Let's check what's the problem. It says okay, null pointer HTTP. So we need to call here. If you get this error, HTTP null pointer HTTP client, then you need to call here one module. So you need to import HTTP client module, this one, okay, and just import this here as well. All right, so now it should work. Add student. Okay, the form is now perfectly loading. So let's write something here. Rajesh Kumar Rajesh @gmail.com 1 2 3 4 5 6 whatever. Add student. Okay, so data is passing perfectly, as you can see. So we will pass the same data to our REST API. Okay, so now let's close it. It's not required, and this one is also done. So we need to work here. What we will write here, this dot student service dot add student. In here we will write add student dot value. This value we will pass here. This is, remember, the parameter, this one, add student, this dot add student dot value, this dot add student dot value, and then subscribe, and here will be data, and here data any, and here console.log. We will check what is the result. So this data, actually we will send it back to router to list page. Okay, for the time being let's keep it as it is. Now let's go here and close it. Let's check here inside network. So once again, Rajesh Kumar Rajesh @gmail.com 1 2 3 4 5 add student. Okay, so endpoint, it says there is 404. That means there is some problem here. Okay, endpoint, and there should be some data as well. So let's check here in our Node Express API. What's the endpoint? It should be inside routes, maybe. Okay, so for adding, this is edit, add student. Okay, this one. So let's go here, and inside service let's write this add student. So this is the endpoint for showing the adding the student. Right, now once again let's check here. Rajesh Kumar Rajesh @gmail.com 1 2 3 4 5, then network. Okay, so it looks like the data is added. If you want to check if really it got added, yes guys, the data successfully got added here, right? So what we want is here, once this is added, it should redirect to list page. Okay, so what we will do inside this page, let's write here uh, this dot router dot navigate gate, then where list student, right? And this router have it routes, it's not routes, so name will be routes. These two routes, the routes router, this dot route dot navigate let's do one thing. Let's route. Okay, private we have not written here. Private routes. Okay, the error is gone. So now let's add another one. I'm adding here Karim on Karim @gmail.com 1 2 3 4 5 6. Add student. So it got added but didn't redirect, right? List student. There is no list student. Cannot match any routes list student. Let's go to routes and see what is there. Not service routes. Yeah. Okay, we don't have any list student. Okay, that's why. Just copy it and paste here. And list is at list student, and here as well list student component. This one. Okay, so so 1 2 3 4 5. Yes. So after adding, it is coming here perfectly. List student works. Okay, so in the next section we will check how to list students. Okay, so in this section, this data we will fetch and display here in list student section. Okay, we will display this data here, right? Alright, so now let's start working on this list student section, right? Let's go to the TS file. This HTML first. Let's delete this. Okay, this is our HTML file. So here div and div close. So class row div and then h2 list students list student students list. This is heading and class call md12 and text center. Here as well div, then class row and div small one, div. So let's do one thing quickly. Let's create here table. Okay, table and then class table, and then tr th actually the head and then t, the head close and th. So here will be first name and then last name, email. We don't require password of course, and here will be edit and delete, right? And then uh, t body and then tr and here td. Yes, there is the here closing here, so this will be closing here actually. Okay, first name, last name, email, and the data will be displaying here, right? So here will be first name, last name, email, edit, delete, first name, last name, email, edit, delete, right? And here first name also. So this tr and this td will be coming from ng4, we will apply here, right? Now let's work on yeah, this ts file. Before that, let's go back to service file. This service file, let's create one service called list student. List student here, list student, and here rather than add a student, it will be list student. Let's check if this is same or not. So let's go to here and list students. What is okay? So this is not required actually. Simply let's open here endpoint, endpoint, and let's remove this, and let's remove here this as well, because we don't need any parameter. So and data will be here get rather than post, because the data will be fetched, right? So this is list student. Now let's get back here, let's close this. So we will come here list student, and then in a constructor we will call student private student service, then student service, right? And here as well private routes router. So for the timing we will be calling these two. And here let's create one function, say load student, and then inside this this dot student service dot list student dot subscribe dot subscribe. This is a function actually. Okay, subscribe, and then data any, and here console dot log. Let's check if the data is coming or not from this data. First we need to check this, and then finally this load student will go inside here, this dot load student. Okay, that means this function we are calling here. Now let's check here list student, control shift I, inspect element, that means console. Yes, the data is coming here as you can see, right? So now let's write here this dot students equals to data, and of course we need to declare this here students ID, and here let's close this, where is this student HTML, here star ng for, then let student of students, and here this is student. Okay, there is spelling mistake. Students, students, this needs to be deleted, and here as well. So now it's working, and at this point of time we need to write here the TD. So inside TD will be student dot ID, not ID actually, first name, student dot first name. So let's check if the first name is coming or not. Yes, the first name is coming here. So similarly, let's copy this first name, last name, email, password is not required, so there will be edit and delete here as well. So edit and delete. So first name is already there, last name, and then email. Okay guys, so as you can see, the data is displaying from mod like React, ExpressJs, NodeJS, and MongoDB. The data is being saved into MongoDB. So I have already created this REST API in another video. So as you know that we are fetching this data from Node through Node and ExpressJS, and the database is MongoDB. So now the next task is to create these two, delete and edit, right? Okay, now let's do one thing. Go here and list student. Let's create one function called delete, and we will call this. Okay, and here delete, let's create one button, and click, then delete, and we will pass here the parameter. So what we need to pass, we will simply pass this student. Okay, student dot ID, so actually underscore ID, this is ID. So simply just delete and then student, nothing else. So actually the function name will be del student. Let's name this function as del student, and here as well del student, and then data any. Okay, and we need to create one function in service here as well. So it will be delete student, and this time we need to pass here ID number. Okay, it's not number, actually string, it's, let's put it any, and here we will be passing here ID. So delete student and this one, and here will be delete. method will be delete. So delete student, let's call here this dot student service dot delete student, and then this is a function, so data dot underscore id, or id is data dot underscore id. Why underscore id? Because if you check here, look this. Mm, you can see underscore id. That's why we are writing here underscore id dot subscribe, then data console dot log data. That means result whatever will be returned. Okay, so let's try now if the delete functionality is working or not. So this is the one we will create. Delete this Nisa. Okay, now let's do one thing. Let's check the network section, then we will understand if it's working or not. Okay, so it says 404. Okay, why? Because a student service id we will pass. Okay, so for deleting student id, this we're getting, and delete, where is that student description, this add student, delete student. So this is the actually endpoint. So our endpoint will be this delete student and then id. This is our endpoint. Okay, now let's check if this delete functionality is working or not. Once again, because we have changed, till it's saying 404. That means it's localhost endpoint. Then okay, id is not going there, right? Because of some reason id is not going here, going through. So let's check why id is not going. So what I will do here, okay, so rather than this comma, we'll just put it plus sign. Okay, now if you check, then one is already deleted. I checked it. So now let's delete another one, say Karim. Okay, right, so this is deleted. Yes, so our delete functionality is working. So what we will do, once delete work is done, it should data should refresh. So here we will write this dot students equals to students dot filter, and then here inside this u, and then any, oh not like that actually, u any here, then u not equal to stu equal to this data. So let's name it as uh, datas. Okay, because we have their datas. This one is students, this dot students dot, and here as well. So what it will do, it will take the data whatever was previous one. Okay, this might be confusing, but it's not confusing at all. Suppose it has 5 records. Okay, so this will also have 5 records, and it will check that which one is deleted. So one is deleted, then it will return 4 records, and these 4 records will be assigned to this, and finally this will display in HTML. So it will filter, deleted one will be filtered and assigned the remaining one. Okay, so that's the thing. So now if you check here, Yes, as you can see, instantly it is getting deleted. Now let's add one more, add a student. So added again. So two records are added. So far we have done view and then delete. The remaining one is edit and update. So this we will do in the next section. And in this section now we will work on edit part. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's open here list this one, and edit section we will write here router link a at this point, a router link, then a close, and this edit will be inside this. So a router link, what will be the router? So it will be edit, then id. Okay, this id we will have to pass here. Let's pass here slash, no square bracket is needed here. Let's delete, and here edit, now double slash curly braces, then student dot underscore id. This id will be passed here, and rather than outer link, let's keep here href. Okay, so now let's check into the browser, open here and click on this. So what is happening here? Edit, and then this id is passing here. So looks like if you place mouse here, then you can see here. So this is edit and then id, right? So let's open here router once again. Where is router? Router. Yes, routing here. There seems to be some mistake. Okay, simply let's keep it here. So this is edit student, right? Now here also we need to put here edit student, and then let's go here, and then now as you can see that edit student works in this page we are uh, redirected to. So what we need to do is that, and here let's put here class btn success, and here class btn danger. Right now, so when we click on the edit section, so in edit part what will happen, just let's copy everything from the edit section from this html, just copy it, and let's paste into, because edit and add will be almost similar. So here let's change it to edit student, and here as well edit student. Okay, and then add students will here also in this ts file. Let's go to add student ts here. So we need to copy everything just like this, and in edit, let's edit student, this is edit student. We'll just copy from this one, let's copy from here to here, and then let's go to edit student, this ts file, this, and from here to here. So now this form builder, here we need to import, and the router this as well, and this service as well we need to import in the top, validators also. So these are now imported. Okay, so add student, student service, and list student. Let's close it. So we'll have here inside the student service we need to create one more. So single student, here we will write single student, and then endpoint, here edit, then plus id, plus id, here will be id, right, and here will be put. Let's check here. So what's the for edit this one, student slash id. All right, so here we need to pass here this student slash id. So what's wrong here? This id what's wrong? Okay, it says it requires two argument, and here what I've done, single student get single student, then this dot http get, and then id will be passed, and based on the id the data will be fetched. And finally in edit student we need to write here this dot uh, this dot student service dot single student dot, and yes we need to pass here id of course. So this will be the id we need to take from here snapshot. We need to take this id, this dot. So id equals to this dot id id equal to url dot snapshot, not url actually, and here we need to call one more private url active route snapshot or active route. So now this and parameters, and then there is hyphen id. No, it's id only. So params snapshot.id. So let's check if the id is coming or not. So console.log. If you know php, in that case you might be knowing get. So this is like get. So let's go here, and if you click here, then let's check in the console if the id is coming or not. Yes, this id is coming. So what is this id? Actually this id, this one, right? So we have written this code, this dot id, this dot url snapshot params then id, right? And for that we need to call this activated route. Okay, and here as well. So these are not required. Let's delete. Only activated route is sufficient. Yes, that's it. So now once that we are getting this id, we need to pass this id from here, and then subscribe, and then data, and here we will pass here this dot, and here we will have to patch. Now we need to write here this dot add student dot patch value value, and then this data. Which one? This data. So what it will do, first the data will be fetched from this function, and then this data will be passed here, and it will be mapping all the fields there. And then if you check here, then yes, you can see the data is filled with this. For example, let's check another student. So let's uh, first list student, right? So we have to, if you click on edit, then the data of this Qasim Sultan and all that will be coming here. So now here we will write update part. So rather its name will be not edit update student. Update student. And now here we have this submit one. So rather than in this add student, we will have to pass here two things. Let's name it as update student. Okay, and we will have to write this function here in service file. Update student, and then student any, and here we will have to pass this return put. The first one will be, we need to pass here two things, right? An ID, and second one will be student. So student.id, student.id, and then student. So we need to pass ID as well as the data. So its name is update student, and here in edit section we have written update student, then add value, subtract everything, same will be there. After updating, it should get back to here. So now let's check what's the result. Now let's click on network and try to Qasim Sultan update. Okay, so there is some error, undefined. What's undefined? Let's check here. Okay, the ID is undefined, right? So that can be the region. So let's check here if the ID is coming or not. Not here actually. In service section here, let's check. I believe it will be underscore ID, right? Because its name is underscore ID. The field name is. So now let's try once again. Okay, still it's saying undefined. Alright, so now let's check here if data is going there or not. So console.log, let's check what is coming here. Okay, I got it. What's coming here? Because we have not passed here ID. We are not passing here ID, right? So there will be one more field, but yes, let's do one thing in update student, because we need two things. So this, if you check here in the console, in console there is no ID. Let's check here. Let me show you one thing. Here in console, if we click on edit, then you can see everything is there except ID. That means the ID is not there. That is why we are getting this error. So what we'll have to do, this is fine, and we will pass here ID as well. So how we can pass this ID? We have there, right? This dot ID, or we can write inside this also here as well. So this dot id, yes, it's not required actually. So here in service, mm, 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 first one will be id, right? And any, and the student any. So this one will be only id, that's it. And this is student, so all the data will go there and id will go there. So where we will get this id? We will get this id from here. So let's do one thing, let's change the sequence. And yes, so first will be id and then the student. So now let's try what's the result. So if we try to update now, so what happens here? Crossing, still there is id passing, but there is some problem. So what's the error? Student 404, not from why this, then student. So let's check here. So this is our endpoint. Okay, the endpoint is update. The endpoint is update. That is why it's saying that it's not found. Now let's go here, click, change here, consent, update. Yes, so it's updating perfectly. You can see consent in Sultan update. Once again, consent done. Update, updating here perfectly. So guys, you can see how easy it is to create, that means add, update and delete in this main stack. So hope you like this video, and I will also provide the source code. Remember one thing is very important, that normally what happens when we have source code, normally we download and just try to play around. Remember, you won't be able to learn properly. So that is why normally I don't provide code. Okay, but there is a trend nowadays. Okay, so need uh, other YouTubers I see that, okay, download source code. So normally uh, the visitors go into that video. That's why forcibly I have to put that. But as a teacher, I'm a teacher. As a teacher, I'm a trainer. As a trainer, I understand that if you type the code line by line yourself, then you will understand better as compared to downloading the source code and just using that. You won't be able to understand that properly. So I recommend that you learn. It will take some time, but you will learn this in solid way. So hope guys you like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Still you have not subscribed. So see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.